Hi Capricorn, I'm EllaAradia and welcome to your August 2026 Psychic Tarot reading. This reading is for my Capricorn Earth signs, where we'll be exploring the overall energies and themes for the month ahead, as well as taking a deeper dive into how these might be playing out for you in your life. This is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate for all of you, but what I find is there's always a shared theme that runs through the collective of all of you Capricorn signs. So it may show up in different areas of your life in slightly different ways, but the theme is always the same. So take what feels aligned to you and just leave the rest. And before we jump in, a big thank you to all of you who are supporting my channel by liking and subscribing. So if you enjoyed this reading and you haven't already done that, please do. It helps the channel out a lot. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and then you can get notified when the next videos are up. So Capricorn, let's jump in. Always like to tune into the energies first, Capricorn, before I start pulling any cards. I'm a psychic reader, so I always like to see what the universe shows me. I feel like many of you are needing a clearer direction, and it feels in terms of perhaps, life path, career, life goals, something like that. And there's a little bit of a feeling here of feeling a bit lost right now as to, what are your next steps? And what I'm seeing for some of you as well is your energy's looking a little bit scattered. You might be spreading your energy too thin, because it feels to me what you're needing right now is a clearer focus moving forwards. It feels like there's a lot of possibility around you, a lot of options. You may have been, let's say, studying different things or looking at different possibilities somehow. And what's needed right now, I feel, is a clearer direction, because I feel like the universe is really wanting to bring in, what it is that you're wanting here, but your energy just looks a little bit unfocused and scattered to me, and a clearer direction is needed. With your overall energy, we have Temperance, a card of moderation, healing, patience. Very often also in terms of healing, this is about integrating something, integrating, a shadow aspect of ourselves, an old pattern, healing, integrating, and in doing that, creating something new. So there might be something that needs to be let go of in order for that energy to really transform into that creative potential moving forwards. What lies in your recent past: conflict, competition. Your current energies, the Nine of Cups. Your feelings towards your situation is the King of Swords. What I'm feeling from this is, I feel for many of you, this may have been showing up in the workplace for you. There may have been a promotion or an opportunity that you were hoping to get. And to me, it's the sense of more than one person kind of competing here, but almost to the point where, it's created a little bit of a kind of unpleasant atmosphere. This is the energy of everybody wanting to be heard, everybody having their own point of view, their own perspective, ideas. And it's like the clashing of ideas where actually, like I was saying at the beginning, there's no clear direction here. This could be something, I feel, that's actually kind of going on inside your head right now as well. And, that conflict is inside of you, where there's all these different ideas, possibilities, and what's needed here is perhaps to just take a step back. And that's what I feel this card is really saying here today. So, you know, the cards, they have a lot of different meanings, and they can represent a lot of different things. You probably noticed that I don't pull clarifying cards, and that's because I'm a psychic reader and I like to really kind of feel into the energy of the cards in terms of, you know, what that really means in regards to, you know, your reading today. And when I feel into this, I feel like that's what you need to do right now. It's about taking a little bit of a step back. You know, the figure in the card has, you know, their arms folded, the legs are slightly apart. So there is an openness, but there is also a slightly closed off energy. And to me, I always think of that as an energy of discernment. And I feel like there is a need here to really get in touch with what your heart truly wants. Because when I feel into the energies of this King of Swords here, Capricorn, I feel like you may be approaching things, you know, in a very kind of rational way, like trying to kind of strategically kind of work things out here in terms of, you know, what is coming next for you. I feel like your energy is very, very resilient. And I just feel like there's been some challenges or, you know, a difficult road in terms of, you know, really progressing your career somehow. I feel like you're wanting to, you know, create a stable, you know, financially abundant life for yourself. And it just feels like there's been a lot of, you know, kind of challenges along the way here. But somehow it's there for a reason. Somehow it's leading you somewhere, because, and I feel like you've really tried. I feel for many of you, you have, you know, explored different opportunities. You've like broadened your horizons and, you know, really had a look at what else is out there for me, what other possibilities are out there for me. And, you know, I get the sense that all of that has really come from, you know, for those of you that this does relate to the workplace, I just feel like there has been a lot of competition and, you know, being around, you know, everybody that's kind of going for the same job here, they're going, you know, everyone's wanting that promotion. And it's almost like it's kind of pitted people against each other, where you've ended up in this energy of kind of a toxic energy where you've got people around you who don't mind kind of stepping on others to kind of get to the top. And for me, it's a sense of you working really hard and, you know, really pouring your time and energy into, you know, whatever this is for you. It feels like a job, a company, working for somebody else, but really kind of investing your energies here and not feeling like you have been receiving the acknowledgement that you really deserve here. And on top of that, you know, there's all this competition in the workplace, and kind of backstabbing is what I'm feeling here. And it feels like it's just made the workday very unpleasant for you. And somehow at the same time, I feel like this might be a sign here, Capricorn, that, you know, it's time for a different path. It's time for a change. It's time for a change in direction. And it may be that something's come to a close for you, because with the Nine of Cups here, you know, it is a card of emotional contentment. But you're not quite there yet. You're not quite at that 10 of Cups where, you know, wishes are fulfilled, let's say. And this often is as well a very singles energy. So something may have occurred in the past here where a job came to a close. It's kind of left you in, let's say, this kind of no man's land, you know, not really sure what's next for you. And I feel like you've got a little bit stuck in your head in terms of what is next for you. Because, you know, the King of Swords, it's, you know, this is someone who tends to make their choices, their decisions, based on information, the facts of a situation. And, it's very much the energy of, using your intellect to move forwards. But I feel like there's another invitation here. And I feel like it's one that's going to be making a choice or decision here moving forwards that's more aligned with your heart, with your inspiration. So in the challenge, we have a moment of a life review. So it's often a card of change. It's a moment of a pause to, again, take a step back. You're being asked to really judge your situation, to really question things. This is judgment. And it's very much a moment where it's about looking at what do you need to let go of that no longer serves you, that you're no longer in alignment with, and what do you actually take with you moving forwards. So it's always a call to accountability, having a bit of a deeper look at why you're having the experiences you're having. What's that all about? What is it illuminating to you? And perhaps actually just seeing the bigger picture, the broader picture here. Very often when something comes to a close, it usually makes space for something else. And I do feel you're being asked here to step into a new version of yourself. You're being asked to, I feel, approach things a little bit differently. It's about moving forwards. What I'm seeing here is a very resilient energy. And it's definitely this energy of, okay, things aren't, moving as fast as I would like them to, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep on going. A very resilient energy. But I do feel like you might be being asked to shift the energy that you're moving forwards in, because I feel like there's a situation which has been going on for a while where what you're really wanting hasn't quite come in yet. And I feel like that started to bring up fear, insecurities, and, sometimes, it's very easy to get caught up in a kind of a lack mindset. Might be something deeper here as well around opening up to receiving, Capricorn. And that might go back to your childhood where, that it wasn't safe to maybe to rely on support from a parent, something like that. So there's some kind of, childhood wound around trusting support, being able to receive. Might be a wound in the masculine kind of side for many of you. Hidden influence here is the High Priestess. And always an invitation here, I feel, to trust that sense of knowing, to trust your intuition moving forwards. Sometimes it's an energy of, things being kept inside, holding back. And so there could be an invitation here when the time is right to really listen to what your heart wants moving forwards. What lifts you up? What makes your heart kind of sing, let's say? Because it is to, I feel, really look sometimes at the idea of, are you able to do what you love and have more than enough money to live, more than enough? Because sometimes there can be a conflict there. That's going to resonate for some of you. That might be something for some of you to have a look at, to bring in instead the belief that you can do what you love and have more than enough for all of your needs. Because I feel like there's an invitation here where a clearer direction is needed, and it's not going to be a choice or decision where, that is going to come from something logical. I feel like this is about really fine-tuning things moving forwards. I feel like some of you have studied a few things. There's that energy that I'm feeling in there. And it may be at this point in time to make a choice. And so it's about going with what feels the most exciting to you, what's the most inspiring. In your guidance, we have death. This is a very transitional energy. And it's the death of something, not something physical. It would be something inside of you, an old version of yourself, limiting negative beliefs, letting go of perhaps a mindset of lack, and making a little bit of a shift in that sense. This is the energy of, some kind of rebirth, you stepping into a new version in yourself, a new version of yourself. Some kind of new beginning, but it's one that's going to involve, growth, healing, letting go of, old insecurities. And I feel like it is about looking at the bigger picture here. Whatever has come to a close, whatever it was that fell through, it's created space for a new path for you to walk. And so death is, it's not a negative card. It's quite simply a rebirth. And you may be at a point in time where, it's a little bit of a feeling of no man's land. And, that there is sometimes a point where there is a conversation between, that's going on inside of you between, what needs to be let go of, what needs to die, and what new seed is going to be born out of that. And it feels to me like you're still kind of in this conversation inside of yourself. But just trust, that something will be born out of this. It is going to lead you in a new direction, and one that's more aligned with your purpose, I feel. So I do feel like for many of you, like this reading is very kind of heavily career related this month, because it's some kind of major new chapter that's opening up for you, I feel, and something where you are, stepping into your purpose, something that you are more aligned with, that is going to bring you ultimately that emotional contentment and happiness. This is what comes after the Nine of Cups here. But it might be about, finding that answer in a different way right now. And just taking a step back and really taking the time to come into this energy of this moment of a life review. This is a transition. In your outcome, we have the Four of Wands. I love that. So a gateway. So when you follow your heart and you do what inspires you, you move forward in a very different energy. You're moving forward in a very powerful, potent energy of creation. And what happens as a result of that is the universe will match that frequency and will start to bring in opportunities. The universe will move people, places, situations, and bring in those opportunities for you, because the Four of Wands, that's a gateway, and that's a gateway to, stability, emotional fulfillment, happiness. This is a significant point in your life. This is some kind of milestone energy. And to get to that, all it's going to take here really, I feel, is following your heart, shifting out of the energy of lack and more into an energy of inspiration moving forwards. And just trusting, I feel, that the universe has got your back here, Capricorn. So I'm going to leave that there. If this reading resonated, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, no matter what comes through in a reading, moving forwards, always trust what feels right for you. So thank you so much for being here, and I wish you a great month ahead.